What up, guys? What up? I am Lou. In today's video, guys, we're going to be going over on setting up a Microsoft Power Automate job that's going to take email attachments and ultimately save it to Azure storage. So you are going to need a premium license for Power Automate. I believe it's on a per run basis. I could be wrong. I need to look at the subscription, but it is a premium subscription, so there is a cost to it. But nevertheless, if it's beneficial for your business, it's all worth it, guys. So that's what we're going to be going over on this video. Before we get started, guys, you give me a like, give me a follow, man. I appreciate it. Hit that like button. All right, guys, let's get started. So before we even get started with Power Automate, I want to go to Azure, and I have a storage account called Sandbox 2 Storage. It's just, you know, something that I created, and then inside here I have a container called Data. This is where we're going to be dropping in email attachments into this folder, right? So that's the whole purpose. We want to take email attachments and we want to drop into this folder, and we want to look for specific email subjects. And you could add more filtering as well, like if it's coming from a specific email account, things of that nature, right? So you kind of specify it. But that's ultimately what we're doing here. We are going to need our access keys for this storage account. So again, go to your storage account, click on access keys, and then this is our storage name, and then here's our one of our keys that we're going to use. Okay, so if you're not familiar, it's under access keys. That's where you get it. Let's go back to Power Automate. Before we even create a flow, what we need to do first is go under data and go to connections. This is where we're going to add a list of all of our connections that exist. Some of these connections are on here already by default based off of like my email account, for example. So it's able to authenticate to, like, again, a Microsoft Exchange to be able to retrieve attachments or emails, better yet. And then of course this is Office 365. Either way, in our case, we're going to create a connection, a new connection, but in my case, it's going to be a Azure Storage Blob connection. So go ahead and search for Azure Storage Blob Storage. Again, it's a premium, so just keep that in mind. You are going to have to pay for it. So there's two ways to connect. You know, you have your AD integration. If you use this option is a good example. A good reason to use this option would be in your organization. You have a Azure storage account set up, storage container set up, and your user, again, your AD account, your AD username, like your email account, have access to that storage container. And if that's the case, you could just, you know, connect via your own credentials, right? Your email account, pretty much, and then that will give you access to that storage container. Now, in other cases, it could be something different. Maybe you're trying to connect to a Azure storage account, but it's not within the organization. It's external, right? That's a good, you know, good scenario. In those cases, you will need a account name, then of course the account key. I like using the account name, account key better for different reasons, because from an admin standpoint, if there's ever any compromise of any sort, they could just go ahead and, again, they could rotate the key, and boom, it'll just cut that connection. They don't have access no more if the key gets, you know, loose out there. When you do it by user account, like your own name, the problem you have is if the employee, for example, ever leaves a company, goes somewhere else, well, that job that got set up, eventually when they cut that email account when they leave, well, now the job's going to fail because that employee no longer there. They don't no longer have access to the storage, you know, account. So again, you decide what's best, but I prefer access keys. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and set it up here. I'm going to get the account name, which is again the storage account name is this guy here. So let's copy that, paste, oops, yeah, paste. Then I need to get my access key, which is this guy. So you got to click on show first and hit copy. All right, and then go ahead and copy it here. Again, it should be real long keys. And that's it. Hit create. So after you create it, I would recommend change the name. Right now the name is kind of default. Go ahead and do edit and change the name to something that's easy. Like again, if you're connected to like a client's storage account, you know, maybe type in the client name, right? Client name. It's just so you know what it is. So I would do something like that just to, because if you start having many connections to different storage accounts, even if it's internal, you know, you want to be able to specify which account it is. So just change the name. All right, cool. Now that I changed the name, now we could go ahead and go to create. Now what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to use a template of something that already exists, and I'm going to make some small tweaks to it. That's the more easier option. So let's go ahead and look for email to SharePoint. So if I type that out under templates, we should find, there it goes right here, save my email attachment to SharePoint document. Now again, you may be asking, well, we don't want to save it to SharePoint. We want to save this to storage blob, right? That's what we want to do in this case. And you're right, we're going to do that. But I'm using this as the base template, and then just kind of just hit continue. We'll change the name of everything, but ultimately this is like the flow of it, right? You got your email and all this other stuff. You could add conditioning. I'm gonna get rid of a lot of this stuff because I don't think I need. So the only piece that I do want and need is gonna be this guy here. And let me minimize all of this. I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna drag it all the way up to the top and put it right in between email and initialize form. So now it's on new email attachment, and then apply to each attachment. Everything else after that could go, right? So now I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of all of this. Delete. Yep. Delete. So now I have these two, right? And we'll walk through this in a minute, but let's kind of get this nailed down. So the first thing is folder. You know, we wanna, which folder do we want to look for? Like in my case, I have my inbox folder, right? If you're dealing with another folder, specify the folder you want. But I'm dealing with inbox, you know. So ultimately, I want. Keep in mind, this is trigger based, so it's not a job that runs like on a schedule. It's a job that it's always running, and the trigger is when you actually get an email that comes into your inbox. It's going to then grab the attachments from that email. Like whenever the criteria that are met and you get an email that meet all of the criteria that we're about to set, the job starts. And when the job starts, then it gets the attachment from the email, and then of course it does the other steps, which is going to load it to the Azure storage account. So just kind of keep that in mind. So again, one of my criteria, the inbox, it has to be in the inbox folder. You can specify when it's coming from a specific person, right? Keep that in mind. So you can be very specific. If it's coming from this person, it's in my inbox. What else? Have attachments, of course, yes, because we want to deal with attachments. Subject. So in my case, I'm going to call this monthly sales report, right? I just call it that, monthly sales report. So it needs to have a subject, a monthly sales report. I'm not going to put a from, but you could, because again, if you want to be more specific, that is coming from this specific, let's say if you want to automate, like a client sends you reports every week or every month, you're sending you data, and you want to automate the attainment of those files. You can specify when it comes from this person with this subject, you know, then of course when those criteria are met, its job is going to run and, you know, do its thing. So now that we have that set, the next thing is going to be this apply to each attachment on the email. Pretty much what we're doing here is we think of it as, oh, we need to delete some of this. I don't need some of this. I don't need. So I'm going to delete all of this too under my conditions. Yep. Boom. All I need is this. So what this is doing is if the attachment happens to have more than one file, well, we have to iterate over that list of all the files, all the attachments, right? And that's what we're doing here. We're iterating over each attachment that exists, and again we're going to grab the attachment name and the contents, and then we're going to do something with it, which again we're going to save it to Azure Blob. So we don't, again, this step is to do the iteration, and we're grabbing attachments, you know, and then we're going to apply though, you know, some kind of step to that attachment. Well, it's not going to be create file. We don't want to create this to SharePoint. We want to save it to storage blob. So let's go ahead and delete this guy. We don't need it. We're going to delete. Yep. And then I'm going to add another action. And in this case, I'm going to search for blob. And then under storage blob, we'll get a list of all the different actions for Azure Blob Storage. And the one that we're going to focus on is going to be this first one, create Blob V2. It's going to create that. So under the account storage, we're going to find this connection string. Now, this auto-populated already because we created a connection already. So under the data connection, we created our connection to our storage account. And then of course that it's providing this as an option, right? You could always change it if you have multiple accounts. The way you do that, you click on these three little dots. See right here where it says my connection, and here's the one that I created. You know what, my face is in the way. Let me move it. So see where it says, you know, it has my name because we renamed it to I am Lou. So if you had many other accounts, just keep in mind that it may default to one automatically, but you could change it to the right one by going to the three little dots, which is the menu, and then selecting the right connection. So that's why it makes sense to give it a proper name, so you know which account to select, right? So just kind of keep that in mind. What I'm going to do here now, I'm going to select my sandbox to storage, which is, again, that's the name of it, sandbox to storage. I'm going to select, so if I go to the storage browser, we'll see under blob containers we have a data. This is where I'm going to drop files into, under that container. So if I go to folder, there's my data. I'm going to select it. And then next I'm going to go to my blob name. So I want to name it the same file name as the attachment. So whatever I'm receiving through the email, I want it to be the same name. So I'm going to find the attachment name. Yep, the attachment name, contents. And then for my actual data of the file name, I'm going to select on attachments. You know what? You can't see it again. I remove my face. Attachment contents, right? So let me go back to the first one just in case, because I don't think you were able to see it. If we scroll down, there will be one that's called attachment name. And that's the one that you're going to select, attachment name. And that's it, guys. Like, this is literally it. We are doing two steps. We are looking for emails that have attachments with this subject that come into the inbox, and when that is met, this job runs. It's going to take those files and then ultimately do an iteration. So again, we have multiple files. It doesn't have to be one. It could be 5, 10, doesn't matter. It's going to do iteration, iterate over the list of all attachments, and then we'll start saving them one by one to our data container in our Azure storage. So let's go ahead and hit save. Now I'm going to go back and let's I should have renamed it. Yep, there we go. Let's rename this flow. So I'm going to call this save email attachments to Azure storage. All right, and again, you can put out whatever description you want here. I guess I'll remove all of that for now. Save. And again, it's on already by default. And again, there's no button here to run, like to actually execute the job. This is trigger based, and the way it's working is looking for an email, right? An email that meets those criteria. So let's go ahead and let's do a test. I'm going to email myself 2 files, not just 1 file, but 2 files, because I want to, you know, so we could see where even if we get multiple files, that it will work. And again, it has to meet the criteria. So in this case, it's going to have a subject of monthly sales report. It's going to be going to my inbox, and right now I have 2 attachments. So let's go ahead and send it. I just sent it. Let's make sure this is empty, right? There's nothing in here, right? I refresh. There's nothing in here. So let me refresh this. It takes maybe about 30 to 45 seconds for it to actually execute. So like I just received the email right now, and it probably be another 20 seconds or so before we will see any history show up. And ultimately what we should see is where the job starts, right? So that will be number 1. The job starts. Job should run quick. These are small files. Again, on Outlook, I believe, like Microsoft Exchange, better yet, I believe the limit is about 150 megabytes max. That's allowed for email attachments. There we go. See how it shows running? And then if I hit refresh, it probably shows successful. Now, if you click on it too, just kind of keep in mind, you can see the steps if there's anything. So especially if you're dealing with any kind of if-else logic, like conditioning, and sometimes maybe you run and you're like, hey, it didn't work. Well, always take a look at the steps, and you'll be able to see through the if-else statements which one did it execute. Did it execute the true or the false statement of the if-else? The condition statements, right? So just kind of keep that in mind. But this one showed that everything ran. I even got a response back. Here's my response, where you know that it pretty much got saved, right? So let's go to our storage, hit refresh, and there you go. See, we have 2 files in here, a JSON file and a CSV file that got loaded. And it really was pretty straightforward, guys. It wasn't hard at all to get attachments. And again, it's trigger based, so as you get emails in the future, you don't have to worry about, well, what if I get another email, is it going to grab older emails that have already been read? That's not how it works. The way it works is, if I were to send another email, like just right now again, it's going to grab only the attachments that belong in that new email that it receives. That's it. You know, as new emails are coming through, those are the ones that it's grabbing files. And because it's trigger based. So again, for some reason, if the job was turned off, for example, right, just kind of give an example. Let's say this job, because this is how you turn it off. Let's say this job was turned off, right? I just turn it off right now, and somebody sends an email attachment that meets your criteria. It's not going to grab any of the files of that email. But let's say you turn the job on after that. It's not going to run either. The job is not going to like start, because it's looking at new emails coming in from that point forward. It's not looking, even though you haven't unread, the email may be unread still. It's not going back in history looking for unread emails. That's not how it works. It's looking for new incoming emails coming from that point forward. So again, it's a nice little service to have when you're trying to get new attachment data. And you could tell this is pretty real time. As soon as you get it, boom, you're getting the files. The files are getting dropped to your bucket right away. again, guys, hopefully this helps. Hopefully this is beneficial to you. This was an actual project that, you know, that I'm working on. So again, I'm trying to make videos to y'all of real scenarios, of real stuff, man. I'm not trying to just make things up. I'm trying to provide some true value to the video that I make. So as I'm going through new scenarios and testing new things out, because it's stuff that I'm actually using firsthand, I'm going to be making videos as well, because I know somebody out there may be in the need to do the exact same thing of what I just did. So again, guys, hopefully this helps. I appreciate it. If you hit that like, you give me a follow, and y'all take care, guys. Peace.